Hi, everyone. We're ready for the next section. Okay, so following on Springboard, we're going to go right into how to operate a successful VR LBE business panel. So on our panel, we've got Sam Wang from Sky Limit Entertainment and Steve Grubbs from Paradigm, Leila Amir Sadehi from One Dome, and Brian Ney from Heroes VR Adventures. And so we got a variety of different LBE VR, AR venues here. So we're going to start off by asking each of you to kind of briefly describe what your, I guess, involvement in LBE VR and what your company does. Starting with Sam.
Okay. Hello, guys. I'm Sam Wang. Hello again. I hope you guys don't get bored of seeing my face again and again. This panel I want to see something different because there's about content about esports. This is about operation, which is the key of doing a successful VR business. We 2.5 years ago we have this large-scale VR indoor theme park being built in China in Beijing, and so during the past 2.5 years, we definitely learned a lot. So this year, we're actually planning an upgrade on the expansion. The park used to be 30,000 square feet. Now we are getting another 10,000, so it'll be 4,000 square feet. So we're adding up a dedicated VR esports area in the whole park. So it's a big variety of content. 80% of the content are built by ourselves. We also partner with some of the Hollywood studios, some of the third-party content providers. So far, there's a big diverse of guests who come to visit us. I'm look forward to share more.
So first, I would say my first introduction to real immersive VR was at one of Sam's facilities in Beijing. About 1.5 years ago, and it was so impactful. I decided to open my own center in the Midwest. So it was amazing. We have a facility. Those of you that were here yesterday know that we have a content company and a LBE VR center, VR and AR center now, and we combine an esports arena with virtual reality, and then also just an area that people can come, hang out, drink coffee, that type of thing, play cards. So it's as much of a center for a demographic of 15 to 35-year-olds as it is a specific VR LBE.
Morning, everyone. I'm Leila Amir Sadeghi. I am the co-founder and CMO of One Dome. We are a location-based entertainment company with a slight difference to what I've seen out there. We use interactive and immersive art and entertainment as a means to engage our audience. We currently have our first destination here in San Francisco. It's 20,000 square feet. We launched the first, what we believe is the first multiplayer AR experience, 25 people in lens at the same time. It's true mixed reality, mixing multiple layers, physical, sound, projections, and augmented reality. We also have 10,000 square feet of what I say, it's a Burning Man in a building. It's 14 interactive rooms and installations, not headset driven, so all age groups for everyone. And then we just launched a immersive dining experience, which is a slightly smaller, higher-end experience, 5-course meal with digital interactive tabletop and other immersive elements.
Good morning. So I'm Brian Ney with Heroes Virtual Reality Adventures. I've got a VR LBE center in Sacramento area, and so it's just up the road, about 2.5 hours away. So we're a kind of a more standard arcade format. So we've got a 10 room scales, a couple of omnidirectional treadmills, and that's kind of our classic format there. So we are fairly new to the block. We opened late June last year, so we're at about 10 months in, and having a lot of fun and connecting people. We've got a strong focus on bringing people together, the real multiplayer component, and connecting people so it's not just that isolated feel, but we're connecting them with one another, again, multiplayer games. And we're also starting to do more, trying to branch into serving our community with educational content, starting to work on law enforcement officer training, other ways that we can use the unique laboratory that we have, essentially, since it is so rare and unique to have a space like that, just figuring out how we can better serve the community and spread kind of the good word of VR.
Thank you, Brian. And I guess I just realized I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Nanette Jackson. I'm the COO of Virtual World Arcade. And we actually had a pop-up virtual reality arcade at Eastridge Mall in San Jose for about a year. And we discovered, and we were running kind of mobile events on the side because we found that, like the mall, it's very slow during the week. On weekends, it gets filled up more, but it just, kind of really slow, and you still have to pay the rent and the lease and for personnel to be there. And we decided that having a mobile events VR venue where we go to the residents or to the company for corporate events was a better way to run the VR arcade for us. So on that note, I was wondering on the panel, like what kind of, I guess what makes your business successful? Like, did you have like investors that were like really well known, or some company, or I know like for Sam, you guys had a well-known co-founder who is the director, Chinese director. So, so yeah, if you can tell me a little bit about what you're like, what companies invested in you and how you got started, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a long story. So, but I'd like to share the story with everyone. It's we have three co-founders of the company. Mr. Michael Chi is who co-produced the Beijing Olympic opening ceremony, and Director Zhang Yimou, who was the director of the Beijing opening and closing ceremony of the Olympic. And me myself, I'm from a movie industry. I get numerous. I've been get numerous awards in film industry. So we know each other since the Olympic, and we were actually very shocked by how immersive experience that created by the opening closing ceremony that make the audience crazy. And also, Michael and I are really we're big fans of those immersive experiences created by Universal Studios and Disneyland and all that. So we were thinking how we can miniaturize those great immersive experiences. Because now Universal is great and Disney is great, but you have to plan like at least half a year ahead of time, right, to bring your family to go there. But we were trying to create a miniaturized experience with same level immersion, same level quality. But before VR, it was really just an idea until 2000, I believe it's 2014 or 15, when Oculus DK2 came out. We felt like, okay, this is the right tool to make the whole thing come true. So that's how we started. That's how we formed the company. So from day one, our focus is really to create large-scale indoor amusement VR park.
If I can talk a little bit about investments and where we've come from, where we're going. So we funded what we've done through both angel investors, and then the build out of our facility, we took out a bank loan. And so moving forward, as we're aggressively producing a couple of things for our facilities. One is education content for our after-school and Saturday tutoring piece. And so that's funded by the other company. But then to fund the corporate training, we are raising another round, up to $1 million in this round. Part of it's angels, but we've also retained Start Engine out of Los Angeles, which is a crowdfunding site, not a GoFundMe or Indiegogo, but actual SEC-approved crowdfunding raise. And so we'll be launching that in April. And so that's primarily smaller investors that are not necessarily accredited investors in the U.S. And everybody to this point has been an accredited investor, but since the U.S. government opened up this concept of allowing smaller investors to invest in SEC-approved offerings, we'll be trying that in April. And the thought is, by those at Start Engine, is that because it's an esports and corporate training in VR and AR play, that and because the TAM, the total addressable market, is very significant, that we should have a successful raise. But if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'll keep you up to date.
We had a similar path. I mean, we started with angels. We raised about $2.5 million through angels, which we converted into a Series A in October of last year, just before we launched or opened our doors. Our Series A was led by a not necessarily traditional VC. We did find a lot of challenges in raising money from traditional VCs, especially. I mean, the biggest challenge was the real estate component. Many wanted not to have anything to do with that. And so we found that our Series A was actually very value aligned. The VC Evolve Ventures, they're actually more of a philanthropic fund that is designed to support businesses that are raising the level of human consciousness. And how that connects to Wondome, I mean, we haven't got there yet, but is that, you know, for us, we use creativity as a means to inspire collaboration, connection, community. So like everyone else, and I've heard it consistently, it's really about bringing people together. And for us, the choice of AR versus VR was, we felt the throughput and the ability to connect. Connection requires eye contact, and so we wanted to enable that. So our fundraising to date hasn't been the most traditional. We did actually launch a crowdfunding, a WeFunder, late December, which my advice to anyone doing that is make sure that you dedicate the attention it deserves, because we launched it at the same time that we saw a good problem to have, a crazy success that almost broke us operationally, and that's where all our attention went, and suddenly the WeFunder got neglected, and we didn't really put the effort behind it, but we are in the process of closing that down and kicking off a Series B within the next couple of months.
Well, so first of all, I think I want to say I'm really honored to be up on stage and be sharing with these high-level operators. My story's a little different in that I tried VR, quickly fell in love with it, got my own headset at home, and within just a couple months decided my favorite part was actually introducing people to it, and I want to do that more. Somewhat unfortunately, is I already kind of had a dream job. I've done martial arts my whole life, and I'm in a great role there. But I decided to open another business on top of that because it was fun, and I wanted to share VR with the world. And so, no investors. It was cracking open the piggy bank and scraping together what I could. And so it's been a fairly scrappy organization and from a real grassroots approach. But I think we've come up with something pretty successful that I've been happy with.
Oh, thanks. So in running the arcade, I know that Heroes, VR Ventures and Paradigm, you guys are using Springboard, your customers are Springboard. And I know, Layla's, yours is a little different. You don't really need like a software kind of management tool for your business. But I
Actually,
guess
that's not quite accurate.
I meant like you don't need Springboard, I guess.
No, but we use Enclu, which I
Okay.
think is presented
Oh,
here.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
for the HoloLens. So they're a platform that sits between content creators and our experience. It effectively, it allows, what we're trying to do is democratize content somewhat and put it back in the hands of artists and animators and creators, and be a platform to facilitate awareness of that work through these experiences. So our venues become distribution channels, and NCLU allows the ability for 3D assets to be dropped virtually into a cloud-based platform, and then interactivity added and push live into experience if we wanted to make it that simple.
And then Sam, do you have anything that kind of manages the platforms in your
Yes,
facility?
we do. It's not Springboard. They told me that, you know, they said this is not in China, right? You know, I'd love to talk with these guys though. So I think we have a different approach. Most of the operators, they have they use like the experience that already been made, but we made our own experiences. Again, because the whole concept of the company was very different from day one. We want to create our own design. So we did our own design, we did our own system, we did our own experiences. And another thing is from day one, we focus on multiplayer. So there's no single player experience in our park. I mean, there are some. We collaborated with like Warner and Sony on some other promotional type of VR experiences, because you know the park is big. So we talked to the Warner guys and Sony guys, and also their China company. They give us their promotional piece. Mostly they're single player, because the budget issue, you know, but which I think is not an issue. They spend too much money on that. So this basically is a co-branding thing. So we built our own system. There in the park there's VR theater, you know, which a more passive experience. We have a full theater, have 25 seats in there. We're probably the world's first company invented those, you know, 360 rotation chair system. So that was more than 3 years ago. That's based on our idea. I think this motion sickness, all that. So we have to come up with something new rather than using the off-the-shelf 4D seats to solve the problem. So it's still up and running, but after 2 years after learning, we feel like people less like passive experience. They're more like interactive. So we're not giving up on that, but we are adding more features, more interactive features on the chairs. So there's a big variety of all different, so it's a complicated system with CRM system, ERP system, and also the equipment management system. Yeah.
Great. So I guess for the Springboard customers, I think Springboard also gives you a bunch of like white papers they get and tips on how to, I guess what have you found that's the most helpful in terms of those?
Well, we appreciate Springboard. You know, they do a nice job. They could do more, but they do a nice job of having regular webinars and white papers and that type of thing. And I actually went to dinner with Josh last night and said, you got to do more of that. We need to know more of the, you know, what is the hot title that we should be pushing and that type of thing. So that's a benefit to have somebody that's working with 400 centers across the United States, and they're able to gather a lot of data that helps those that are within their ecosystem. So that's been nice for us.
And I would echo that. I think the open huddles that they do, and some of the recent efforts for getting more of a focus group with several of the operators that have some proven success track records, that they're increasing the conduits and channels for getting feedback from, you know, the arcades that are actually interacting with the customers, and how can Springboard continue to develop. And I think that's an important piece of the growth process. So.
Thank you. The other thing I was wondering about is I think we had a little problem with our personnel when we had our arcade ups. Do you have any issues with personnel? Was it easy to find personnel, or I don't know, other HR issues?
So I would comment on that in two ways. First of all, we hire a lot of college students and a lot of $10 an hour kids, basically, to work at our facility. But because we also have a very active esports piece to it, and are running a tournament every weekend, there are a lot of students who want to do internships with us. So, you know, if we had to pay everybody that worked in our esports tournaments, we would never make any money. So the internships are a very important piece of that. They'll come in and work for 2 or 3 hours, help us put on a tournament so they can put that on their resume. And so that's of great value to them when they graduate. A lot of them are competitors on esport teams, and they can go and get a business in esports or in the VR world. But at the same time, it's a great benefit to us as well. So an active internship program can be helpful there.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about hiring as well. I've been really blessed with having a great team. I have an HR background, so interviewing is something that I kind of enjoy as well. Some people say good help's hard to find. I don't know, I disagree. I think if you know how to look for it and ask the right questions, there's a lot of great talent out there. So because I mentioned I have another career outside of this, I needed to have a great team from the get-go. And so the hiring process was what invested a lot of time in. And so I'm actually only at my shop maybe 10 hours a week. And it's up to Austin and Eric, who are running the show really for me on the day-to-day. And it wouldn't be what it is without them. And so taking the time to really do take the time to hire and interview effectively. Don't be in the rush, right? One of the biggest mistakes is I need somebody now, so they're good enough. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. You take the time, even if it means that you're not finding that person right away. Interview effectively, find the person that's going to be the cultural fit. And it's that culture, the personality, the drive, that's first and foremost, because anything else can be trained, right? The skill sets, how to interact, that all comes with training, and you want to be driving that anyways. But if you have the culture, the desire, the excitement, and I think one of the greatest things about what we do is VR is exciting, right? You put an ad out for a VR guide. Gosh, I think I got 150 applications, right, for our guides, and so that was the hardest part, was sifting through all the different applications that we had and getting down to the fantastic team that we have. So we've got I've got 7 staff members, so 2 of them are Austin and Eric, who manage things, and another 5 part-time.
We had when we started looking, it was an interesting time here in San Francisco. The entry-level positions were in abundance, and we had a lot of difficulty getting people to just show up for interviews, let alone finding the right people at the beginning. It got scary because we were getting close to opening and still not having full staff. And what we found is that once we were able to recruit some of the right people, it's about giving them agency. I mean, the experience for us starts at the door. So, and as we're sort of pretty much making things up as we go along, there is a lot of room for others to input in that. And we felt that giving the staff the opportunity to create some story, to have a little theme. I mean, we're an immersive destination. We have a little bit of immersion with the staff too. I mean, we don't do costumes or other things yet. Potentially, I don't know if that's coming. But yeah, it's giving them agency. It's allowing them to extend the story a little bit. It's even creating, offering them to sort of train together, role play, and even create competitive sets between the staff. That works well.
So our operation is more like a mini theme park, a little bit like yours. Like you have to be a level of immersion. So our staff, or the whole operation, I think it's way too complicated. We hosted 2 years ago. I still remember that we just opened for like a month or two. We were approached by Audi, the auto company, their headquarters from Germany. He said, okay, we used to do this headquarter meeting in Beijing. We used to go to the Great Wall, the Forbidden City. But this year we want to try something different. Let's go to Surreal. So okay, we need to prepare. We need to be prepared. So we hire an agency company. Also, we need to train our staff how to, deal with those guys, because, most of the Chinese people actually don't speak English. We have to hire interns, international students, and all that. And also, I think most of the location-based entertainment run into the same issue, that in the daytime you don't have enough guests, but on the nighttime or during the weekend holidays you get tons of guests. So we used to hire all like full-time staff, but now we definitely don't want to do that. Half of them are full-time, the other half are interns and partner. For the half-time. And also on the IT level, I gotta say, because we really we took the biggest risk because 3 years ago we focused on multiplayer. The complexity of the multiplayer system, it's way higher than you use HTC system. So because we have to build some of the system by ourselves, so we have to hire really senior IT guy to run a day-to-day operation, which is rare. But now we solve the problem with, with help from Microsoft, their MR system, and also we're close with Oculus and Intel. Intel is our strategic investor. So with this giant company's help, also we still keep building our own system. So we kind of solve that problem, but we still need good IT guy. So yeah, I just want to touch base on some of them.
Yeah, that's good to know. I know it is good to have a good IT guy, especially when it's very technical. Darn, I was going to ask about, do you find that, do you have food, I guess, in your facility?
We do. We do. We have food and beverages and merchandise, and just, everything.
Yes, we work on that every month to try to increase that. Right now it's approximately 20% of our revenue, but as I emphasize to our team, that's one of those upsells that we need to do a better job of. Having said that, for 4 Saturdays we are now giving away free hot dogs if you give us a TripAdvisor or Yelp review. So we're giving away a little bit of our income there, but we know that with summer coming and vacation that we want to do well on TripAdvisor and Yelp.
We don't. We've got bottled waters available, and we'll usually give those away for some social media praise. We don't, and that's really purely a factor of all of the red tape that goes along with that, and not having the bandwidth for it. But if we could, I'd love to, and hope maybe pick some people's brains about how they got through some of that.
We do-ish. We opened with a, it's actually a intentionally non-alcoholic elixir bar, and the elixirs themselves can be pretty buzzy. But we opened with that. That itself is an experience of its own that actually attracts its own sort of audience. And so the venue is open to anyone to walk in. The experiences are ticketed. So Elixir is a draw. We are realizing that because of our location being sort of mid-market with all the corporates around us and stuff, adding in a lunchtime and a daytime food service or having some food there is something that we're going to be launching next month. And obviously we added an immersive dining experience, which does come with alcohol, but that's a specific event that's twice a week, starting next month again.
Yes, I enjoyed the feast dinner last night with the drinks. So I have a lot more questions, but I figured I'll open it up to the audience for a Q&A session now. Any questions? Gotta have questions. Then I'll ask some more questions then. So how about, oh.
In your various types of experiences, what do you find that guests gravitate toward the most, and how do you break that up in terms of the demographics?
I thought you were going to ask how we clean our headsets.
And how do you clean your headsets?
So as far as how do we steer people towards specific experiences, well, I think for us, we've got about 30 to 35 titles at a time. We rotate new ones in and out every month just to keep it a little bit fresh and provide more opportunity for repeat visits. But we really take the role of guiding them in the experience, and so it's frankly pretty rare that we have people coming in looking for a particular title, because as we've been talking about, that there's very little awareness as to really what they're getting into. VR is more conceptual rather than understanding what they're about to do. Usually it'll be kids that'll ask for Job Simulator or Beat Saber because those are what they see the most videos of. We frankly steer people towards, one of 3 to 4 top titles that we know are immediately fun. So we take the role of guide, so all our staff are called VR guides, and we take that role very seriously, in that because we have a customer coming in that doesn't know what they're about to get into, even if they think they do, we need to take ownership for their experience and steer them towards what we know to be successful, as opposed to saying, here you go, explore. Instead, we want to control that first 1 or 2 experiences so that we guarantee they're going to have a great time, that they're going to see the magic and wonder that we know is there, and then after that we tell them kind of how to explore around. And so that's usually a Elven Assassin, a Beat Saber, one of those types of games that isn't very complicated, doesn't have a lot of controls, that they can pick up and have fun with right away. And then from there we let them explore.
You know, this is a really interesting chicken and egg question. Early on, you know, I thought maybe I knew something about business since this was my 4th one. And I told my guys, I said, look, do you go to a movie theater and just show up and ask the person at the ticket counter which movie you should see? No. You advertise a movie, you get all excited, and it's going to see that movie that drives you to the center. So I really focused our advertising, you know, more on a cinema-type marketing experience. And then after like 3 months that I said, you know, are people coming in to see the movies? They said, nope, they just show up and ask what they should do. I said, okay. So I still believe in the cinema strategy. I haven't figured it out yet, but we just put LA Dead Zone in our facility last week, and I've been advertising that. It's a multiplayer product in our little multiplayer room, and that does seem to have driven a few people in to play LA Dead Zone, so we'll see what happens there. But I still think that running trailers and driving people in for a specific experience should work, even though I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, I was going to add that what we discovered at the mall, and we were kind of next to a movie theater as people were walking by, I found that helped when a movie was out. Let's say I think at the time they had a Spider-Man VR trailer that they were running. So we kind of helped the movie theater. I think they would walk by, and they go, oh, you want to try or the movie theater helped us. I say, you want to try the VR, you know, Spider-Man? They just came out from watching Spider-Man. So that was one aspect of that. But the other thing we found, as people got more familiar with VR and as YouTubers or casters are doing, you know, more VR games, we had kids come in and ask for specific games at that point. But before then, when it was still new, they weren't coming up to ask.
So, sorry, I want to just add one more note. It's we do our own content. So I agree with you. In the future, you know, there will be movie type of advertisement. But I think the industry is not big enough. You think about movie, like you're basically like surrounded by tons of information. Like Spider-Man is showing, like you have TV spot, you have Facebook, you know, you have all that commercials out of everywhere. But I think for VR, we're not there yet. Yeah. So for us, we started to create our own content. And then, like we developed like about 8 content, and we didn't even know like which content will work better. So, but fortunately, you know, we constantly doing this. You know, during the more than 2 years, we get a lot of surveys, and we now get a much better idea on what kind of content the guests like. You know, they want interactivity, they want multiplayer, they want that. And so, and also, what's the size? Is the perfect size for? Because you know, in the end, it's location-based entertainment. It's a real estate business. You need the throughput. You need to get your money back. So, what's the balance have to be? So, I think we have a pretty good understanding. So, based on this data, we're now building more experiences. So, we think we more like before. We really didn't know. So, we have to get the guests to pick and choose. But now we're able to tell them, okay, this is more exploration. This is more player versus player. This is more space. You know, this is like people used to like this, and you know, for family, what family likes. So that's our thought.
Hi. So we found finding brand ambassadors very difficult as well. One place where we found them was by posting on VR and AR group pages, which is where we got some of our best brand ambassadors. Trying to get people to go out to Jamaica, Queens from Manhattan was very difficult. So we basically offered a very high salary to get them in there, and going in through TSA, 6 weeks of classes is not appealing as well. And the person who oversees those people, I always feel like I see a little post-traumatic stress when she walks in on Fridays after scheduling. So we do have incentive plans, not only for each of them to beat their week from the previous week, and we give them tools in which to do that. And also to be, the top seller. And we all know that there are top days based on, footfall, et cetera. And I'm just wondering, what sort of, you said that you used different tools to incentivize your brand ambassadors to exceed, not only to provide outstanding customer experience, but also, and to be immersed and be enthusiastic and a great brand ambassador, but also sort of, what do you do other than saying, if you exceed this number, you'll get X amount of bonus, and the top person of the week. We only need one brand ambassador for 12 stations, so it's a little different, but they compete with themselves and against each other. So I'd love to get some other ideas from what's been effective for you. Thank you.
I think for us, well, it's early days. We're less than 6 months old. We're seeing, a path to promotion is an important one, clearly laying one out, offering multiple layers of customer experience roles, from, we call them just customer experience ambassadors, all the way to leads and hosts and others. We do, at a certain point, we offer equity that vests at a certain point of a little bit of equity to, we believe, with everyone at One Dome receives an element of equity in the company. It does require certain commitments and vesting schedules. We do believe that is, helps. Obviously when you're talking about folks who are in their late teens, early 20s, and a 4-year vesting schedule to them, they don't even know what they're doing in 4 months, is not necessarily always the most attractive, but it does help because it shows that we're investing in them. And then some competition. It's just a tough one. We're still figuring out what that looks like for us.
Anyone else?
We use primarily social media marketing to drive people in. For $100, you could reach 10,000 people and expose them to whatever the latest trailer is or activity. And so primarily we don't have a group sales manager or a sales team. It's all direct marketing.
I was just going to add, giving them buy-in, giving them the opportunity to influence what's happening, and to be not just an employee, but help to drive and shape what we do next, new promotions, new ideas, hey, what if we offered this? That's helpful for driving engagement. And personally, I prefer more collaborative versus competitive approaches. I don't usually like to pit the team against one another because I want us all working in the same direction. So more, I tried a couple competitive, and the feedback, frankly, the feedback from the team was that they didn't like it. So we focused more on cultural values. So who is in line with the values that we're wanting to further, and can we reward or recognize that performance?
I'm sorry, unfortunately we're out of time. I have to introduce the next one. So thank you, panelists, for participating. So next panel we have is how to develop